Joseph, there's panic in Portugal. The shares in Espirito Santo, the second biggest bank in Portugal, are down about 15%. What's going on?
Well, as I try to explain what's going on, decide for yourself whether this sounds unique to Portugal or something that has kind of systemic consequences for European banks as a whole, because we have to note that there have been some movements in German bonds today, which is suggesting a risk-off trade, and European bank shares have also responded today in places like Italy and Spain. However, to attempt to explain, Banco Espirito Santo is part of a much wider Portuguese financial structure. It's owned by a holding company. Well, a quarter is owned by Espirito Santo Financial Group. That in turn is owned by Espirito Santo International, which is a Luxembourg holding company. That holding company has missed payments on commercial paper, which previously it had issued to retail investment funds elsewhere in the Espirito Santo group. So it's terribly incestuous and complicated. But when the music stops, people start to think about how can I enforce debt issued by a holding company? Where are the assets I can look at? And that has come back to Banco Espirito Santo. You mentioned the share price decline. It's currently trading at around 0.4 times price to book, which is, crisis level multiple compared to the over 1 times you would expect for a peripheral bank at this point.
So a very convoluted situation, but it does sound from the way you describe it like it's limited to something particular to Espirito Santo Group overall and the way it's structured rather than anything wider. Are there reasons for people more widely to be concerned?
Well, I think, this has come up in the context of banks in general preparing for the asset quality review. And we've already had capitalizations, write-downs, reorganizations among Italian, Spanish, other peripheral banks in preparation for that. And you have to think, well, look, are there other governance issues which can be kind of pointed out as part of the EQR? I mean, to look at Banco Espirito Santo itself, it has a large Angolan operation. That Angolan loan book will probably be looked at by the ECB as part of the review. And so it's, what's being disclosed, where does exposure ultimately lie? The AQR will help, but you have to think, well, look, your investor has probably bought peripheral assets in general, notably bank shares, because you're expecting them to rally because of policy action or recovery from the crisis. Well, those moves have largely been priced in now. You're going to have to start looking at specifics, and that includes, in the case of Banco Espirito Santo, who holds it, what part of broader corporate governance structure is it part of? The fiddly bits.
Yeah. Well, it's a very difficult situation, but it's a sign, if anything, that although a lot of the European banking sector seems to have recovered recently, it's not fully quite recovered yet. Joseph, thanks very much.